hearts go out to the families of the soldiers who died protecting America overseas, and it's indeed tragic. This is what war brings, and it's always a last resort, always something to avoid, always horrible, but sadly sometimes necessary.
Speaking of the president, we know that President Trump stated earlier today that the U.S. will destroy one bridge or power plant every time Iran targets a ship trying to transmit through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran, in turn, will hit infrastructure and energy facilities across the region. Harley, you heard me state it in the open. It's a tit for tat. There has now been a line drawn in the sand, but Harley, that line, well, it was drawn before, was it not?
Well, I think the United States is accelerating. Power plants was something they weren't striking before. They've been striking their military targets, their aircraft, their anti-missile, their missiles, their control and command center, all military targets. This is a gray area and could cause huge damage. Even if you look at Pickaxe Mountain, if you cut off the electricity, that could create a lot of problems for you there. So that means hitting power plants. So I think it represents a different strategy. But above all, what this says is you're going to have tit for tat forever, or at least as long as Trump is in office, unless you try to finish the job and finally resolve this, which is only resolved by having a regime change or breaking the country economically, which you could do by destroying their oil facilities, because that's how they gain 90% of the revenue. And no bucks, no Buck Rogers, meaning they have no money, they can't pay their soldiers, who in turn repress their own citizens. I think the people are eager to rise up, but I think more work has to be done to lay out the conditions so the people have a chance of succeeding with this brutal regime.
Let's move on to yet another big topic within that region, and that is President Trump has approved a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia that could really lead to the kingdom enriching its own fuel for civilian reactors. Was this the right move for President Trump to make?
Yeah, I think so. Saudi Arabia is a responsible partner. They are going to let the United States manage it, do the work, provide all the equipment. That's a real partnership. And that's where the United States has control and the ability to see that this nuclear energy is only being done for peaceful purposes. So it gives the United States extraordinary oversight that we could only dream of for a country like Iran. So this is where nuclear energy is being utilized for something good with American guidance and control, as opposed to something destructive, which is what Iran is doing to create a nuclear bomb.
Harley, yet again, we are watching footage from the dignified transfer of fallen soldiers at Dover Air Force Base. Out of respect, let's just pause one more second with a moment of silence. Yet again, Harley, 4 dignified transfers of fallen soldiers in all. I know many are watching this and see the word earlier. That is correct. This did take place moments ago. However, it was not live streamed. We are now receiving the feed, as is the rest of the world, at this very moment. And so, yet again, our hearts pour out to those that lost their lives while really trying to get to the bottom of this in Iran. Harley, we'll end with this, and that is an issue that, quite honestly, is affecting so many, not only nationwide, but really worldwide. And I bring that up because it's taking place in New York City. We know that the New York City Mayor Mamdani recently said that the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, should be arrested and wanted to arrest him if and when he makes his way to the Big Apple. We now know that Mamdani has recently stated in a podcast that he realizes he does not have the ability and or the power to place him under arrest. This coming several days after President Trump said, Mr. Mamdani, that will not happen. What say you?
Mamdani knew he didn't have the power, the ability to do it. He manipulates his supporters to distract attention from his real job. He gives his supporters the fantasy that he could possibly arrest Bibi Netanyahu, who's an unpopular war leader, and a lot of people dislike him. So he plays on people's feelings, but he's not telling the truth. And the same way he promised the voters that he would have free buses in New York City, and he had to backpedal on that. And another example of him not doing his job and lying. He was elected to be mayor of New York. We have too many homeless, we have potholes to fill, budgets to get done, crime to deal with, affordable housing. That's what he was elected to do. He needs to do his job. For him to have this grandiose view of himself conducting foreign policy, it really shows what a fool he is to say that he could arrest him when it was so clear that that's just impossible. Any foreign leader that comes to the United States during the UN visit is protected by diplomatic immunity. Only the US government, the federal government, could arrest somebody like that. The mayor has no power to do it. The United States is not part of the ICC, International Criminal Court, which does have the arrest warrant. But it shows how frightening he is. He uses his office with an American flag behind him in a very quiet, controlled way. And what he does is he lies by omission. He doesn't acknowledge things that explain the horrors in Gaza. He doesn't mention hostages. He doesn't mention that this is the biggest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. He doesn't mention that Hamas committed genocide on innocent Israelis, raping women, putting people on fire in wheelchairs, torturing innocent people, babies in ovens. This is what Hamas did. They committed genocide, and they're projecting it onto Jews and to Israel. Israel tried to do everything to avoid civilian deaths. They would drop leaflets warning civilians to be away. No country in history has fed their enemy civilian population more than Israel has. Israel wanted innocent refugees to flee to Egypt so they would be out of harm's way. Egypt didn't allow one Palestinian in, and they were right next door to Gaza. So that's what this is really all about. It's Mamdani using sophisticated anti-Semitism by lying by omission, not doing what he's elected to do, and manipulating and lying to people that he has this power to do something when he doesn't. He's actually not doing his job, and I hope people pay attention to that.
We'll have to leave it there. Yet again, Mr. Harley Lippman, foreign policy expert. Sir, we truly appreciate your time and your expertise.